Thanks, Michael. Yeah, tough to follow Matthew there when you look at the size and scale of their project and the grade. I draw everyone's attention to our forward-looking statements and our disclaimers. They're on our website, and please feel free to view with them. Goldshore has been around for about a year and a half now. We acquired the Moss Lake project from Westdome in 2021. We listed on the TSX Venture in June of 2021. And what we acquired was quite simple. We acquired a 4 million ounce historical resource broken up into 1.5 million ounces of indicated and 2.5 million ounces of inferred historical resource. The land package that we have is substantial up in northwestern Ontario, just outside of Thunder Bay. And another kind of box ticking exercise for risk evaluation is we are in one of the lowest risk jurisdictions, being in Ontario. Over the last 18 months, we've raised just over $50 million to support our program, which is a 100,000 meter drill program. We've assembled a strong group of people on the team, guys who have built and ladies who have built mines before, several of them, and on our board as well, and on our advisory board, you'll see quite a few names there of people who have built and developed mines, and they believe in this project like Pete and I do, simply because we think this is a project that's going to go into production one day, not one that's just going to float around for a while. So let's talk a little bit about the project. As I said, we're up in northwestern Ontario. We're about 100 kilometers west of Thunder Bay. You can see the historic resource grade of both the indicated and inferred. This is a low-grade kind of bulk tonnage style deposit. And this is what our thinking was from the very beginning. We felt that the deposit was a bit under-drilled, a bit misunderstood, and we felt there was a tremendous amount of upside by not only acquiring it, by going back to kind of simple basics as to how we were going to approach this. If you look at land package, and we've actually bolted on some land onto that, we have signed an earn-in agreement with White Metals that takes us another 22 kilometers to the east. But when I look at projects and evaluate projects from a risk standpoint, certainly jurisdiction is important, but doability. This project is on Highway 11, the Trans-Canada Highway. We have access to an international port. We have access to international rail across country. We have an international airport. And that one of the most important things, certainly in today's hyperinflationary market, is we have access to 10-cent kilowatt-hour power that goes right on our site. This is the additional property that we bolted on an earn-in agreement with White Metals. Again, along our strike, along the mineralized, known mineralized region of our land package. Just some high-level, cap structure highlights. Today, we're trading at 24 cents, which gives us about a $32 million market cap. We've got 143 million shares out. And we've got about just around $8 million in the bank right now. If you asked me this 5 months ago, I would have said we have $16 million in the bank. We're running 7 rigs, and we're burning $2.5 million a month. But we've subsequently pulled back, and we're running two rigs on site right now to continue with the story going. But the story is not dissimilar to many guys at the conference today. The capital markets, the macro story here has impacted junior mining companies significantly. I show our share price at 21 cents. It was last week. It's 24 today. We IPO'd in June of last year at 65 cents and a $65 million market cap. So you can see we have been hammered pretty heavily throughout the last 4 months. This is a little of the infrastructure that we've put up at Moss Lake, our core shack and our camp. We are around 54,000 meters into our 100,000 meter program. We've done just under 90 holes, and we've got assays, as you can see, a little bit of a backlog there. We've got assays pending for about 40 holes, and we've got a few thousand meters of core to still log. So we've got quite a bit of work to do over the coming months and into the winter season. But I think the takeaway from that is we're putting news flow out every 3 weeks, and we're going to continue to put news flow out every 3 weeks for the next 6 or 8 months and longer, simply because of the quantity of work we're doing. So news flow tend to be catalysts, but I'll tell you, in August and July, we put out some of the best drill results that we've seen so far, and the market didn't care. Market didn't move. Share price was not affected. Again, that's more the macro than it is our story. On the ESG front, we have done a significant amount of work at site in this area. I think Pete and his team have done a tremendous job establishing relationships with our host community Indigenous partners and our First Nations, and we have signed our first exploration agreement back in Q2 of this year. So we are very collaborative. We have several First Nations employees, and we also support the community and the First Nations community by affiliating any contracts and giving them opportunities at a very early stage to participate in them. And running our environmental baseline study is an Indigenous affiliated consultancy firm. Back about a year ago, we flew VTEM and MAG over our property, and we just finished flying VTEM and MAG over our new property that we're going to earn into with White Metals. And there were some, I'll say, some significant findings which started to change the story for us. And the story was Moss Lake has 3.5 million ounces of historical resource. East Coldstream has 500,000 ounces of historical resource. We started to see some very, very high priority targets over 11-kilometer strike, which is on our property, and White Metals will go beyond our property. And we came up with 29 high priority drill targets that we are now going through now. And the crew is on the ground. They're doing kind of geochem and structural work now to try and prioritize those as we get into laying out our drill program for the winter and for the spring and preparing for that. But I think they, this survey has really guided us. And then the drilling has also guided our thinking. When I talked to, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I talked about this being very similar to Detour Lake, and it is, and there's no two ways about it. This is a massive mineralized camp at the Shabandawan Greenstone Belt. We are kind of the regional drivers of this. We have control of this belt, but we have seen some really, really high-grade intercepts here. I look at 6.3 grams over 56 meters, 1 gram over 117 meters, another 1 gram over 128 meters, and seeing a lot of those 1 gram over long intercepts. But we have really started to see some high-grade areas of this resource that were passed over by Moss Lake Gold Mines. They really smoothed out their model. They drilled to a model. They put this PEA together to a model, and they really ignored the geological controls going on within the deposit. And because of that, it ended up taking them in a direction with a very, very bland resource at the end of the day, and didn't really respect the high-grade areas that are going on in here. And I think that's the difference now. This is why the story's changing. We're starting to see significant areas of what we call high-grade, above 1 gram, and there's areas here where we see 500 grams over a meter, 250 grams over a meter. We see really, really high-grade areas here, and they're highlighted here in red. And even though you can see in gold the historical resource at Moss Lake, and there's these 3 distinct zones, the southwest zone to the bottom left, the main Moss Lake deposit in the middle, and the QES zone up in the upper right, we're seeing, not only are we seeing parallel structures here, we're seeing high grade on step outs from the historical resource. This thing is now hanging together where I think the story's changing. And that change is, although we felt that we could probably drill this out to 7, 8, 10 million ounces, and that could have been a goal. But that really isn't what the market wants today. We're in a hyperinflationary market. We've got CapEx blowouts all over Canada and the US when it comes to new projects. The market is just really disgusted with our sector when it comes to that. And then compounding all of that is the inflation impact that we've seen over the last little while. So I think we've not only got potential here along strike from 2.5 kilometers to 11 kilometers, both laterally, there will be step outs laterally, and we've seen mineralized areas laterally, but also at depth. The original model went to 250 meters. We're drilling down to 500 meters because we think it's a bit de minimis after that for an open pit operation. And so there's significant potential here. And you can see some of the high-grade areas that we've identified. And I think where the story is now turning, and this is a secondary deposit that's 13 kilometers away from Moss Lake on our land package called East Coldstream. And there's an area up near East Coldstream called North Coldstream. We're going to be getting assays out in the next month. But again, some very decent high-grade areas here. So moving from the detour 50, 60,000 tons a day, bulk tonnage, throw it all through a plant and move a lot of earth at the end of the day, we're now thinking about constraining this, and constraining it for a couple of reasons. First of all, you've got the market wants to see manageable capex, 150, 200, maybe $220 million for a, let's call it a 2 million ounce resource that has a production profile of maybe 100 to 120,000 ounces a year. That project is probably a $250 or $300 million market cap company today. We're 30. So that could deliver value for us. Yes, not to mention the global resource, as we're mineralized all between these areas and all the way up to Coldstream. We have to prove that. There have been scout holes out there that have delivered very, very similar results to Moss Lake. So that's a process that's going to take time. And the infilling of this is going to take some time. So if we can infill a smaller area, higher grade, can we bring a 2-gram deposit, 2 million ounces to the market and make that the first, call it phase 1, part of a larger project with a big global resource behind it in the event that gold was to sustain at 2,000 or 2,100 or 2,200 for a sustainable period of time where, 1-gram deposits are going to be good cash flow generators? That's possible. So I think this is kind of where we're moving and why the story is changing ever so slightly as we get through this. We're doing pretty extensive work. We're not just drilling, waving our arms and raising money. We raised $50 million in the last 18 months, but we've taken a comprehensive approach to this. We're doing a very advanced geological model based on the known geological controls. We're doing a metallurgical model, extensive metallurgical testing, bulk density. We're going to have a model, resource model at the end of the day that's going to be very robust. It's not going to be plus or minus 30 or 40 or 50%. This is going to be a model that is going to be very, very reliable. And we don't think of it as an exploration. We think of this as a development. We're trying to put together a project here. We're trying to put together something that can be taken to the next level. We're doing a lot of the things we're doing are at a PFS level, with the exception of moving everything up into indicated, but we can do that on a smaller resource. So these are going to be some of the permutations we look at in probably Q2 of next year when we go to look at what a PEA might look like, or a pre-feasibility study if that's the depth we go to. So I would expect that over the course of the next year, we're going to continue to deliver news every 3 weeks, continue to deliver results. We have a very, very strong team, both on our board management and our advisory board. We are in a very premier location, being in northwestern Ontario, and I think we've got kind of the right strategy going forward. So that's taking it to within 3 seconds, Mike, if that's helpful.
Perfect timing. Thank you.